anger of people against globalization and against the elites.
Yes, this is frightening. I don't know if you have seen this. According to this article, what is disease X? Right-wing circle slam, hypothetical pandemic. Going down on the article, with less than a week until the World Economic Forum discusses potential preparations for a hypothetical disease for deadlier than COVID-19, named Disease X, mentions of the illness have sparked a firestorm on social media, with right-wing accounts slamming the plan surrounding the hypothetical situation. That is something coming up in few days. This is X. I've seen a lot of people reacting to this on social media, and BBC had a segment pertaining to this. I'm going to play so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please endeavor to do that. And if possible, share this video.
The British government has unveiled a new facility where scientists are working to prevent future pandemics. It's located at Porton Down, a high-security research facility best known for its work on chemical warfare. Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic virus. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes was given rare access to the facility.
The delicate task of protecting the nation's health. This is one of the laboratories at Porton Down where scientists are analysing current threats, new variants of COVID, and trying to identify new ones. Inside these purpose-built labs, more than 200 scientists working for the UK Health Security Agency are helping to develop and test a range of diseases. It's vital work to keep us all safe.
We've got, in many respects, the toughest job in the world, which is to protect health against infectious diseases and environmental hazards. And it is tough because we know that the risks of new and emerging infections.
Yes, based on my understanding, they love us. They don't want that we should face with a situation similar to what we had during the COVID period. It was unprecedented, according to the BBC.
Prepare for a threat when they don't know what that threat is.
So that is the challenge, which I think you heard our Chief Scientific Officer, Professor Isabel Oliver, describe. But there are a number of steps that we can take. We can be better prepared in terms of surveillance, and we're doing that work separately. But what we do in the UKHSA labs at Porton Down, which is separate, I might say, from the Ministry of Defence facilities for chemical warfare, is get ourselves ready both to isolate the new pathogens, to develop assays so that we can test them accurately, and to work with other partners, with academics and with pharmaceutical companies to test out prototypes and then be ready to evaluate them. And the really exciting thing about the legacy from the pandemic is we now have 2,800 square metres of laboratory space we didn't have before, and we're using that as part of our new strategy to ensure we're as best prepared as we can be for new pathogens and some existing ones.
What would you say is the most important lesson that was learned from the pandemic?
So I think I was going to say partnership was the immediate work that comes to mind. And that's obviously we see that when we work with our Directors of Public Health, for example, in responding to all sorts of infectious disease and chemical and radiological incidents. But actually it applies very much to working with industry as well. The task force was the group which originally supported this investment in laboratory space at Porton Down at the UKHSA site there. And it is that continuing work which we are planning to continue going forward so that we are ready working together as soon as a pathogen appears, and actually obviously beforehand, so we're prepping as fast as we can.
There is that target of being able to deploy hopefully a vaccine within 100 days of the threat being identified. How close are you to that particular target, to making that realistic?
So that is an ambition, so to get from an identified pathogen to a vaccine and to therapeutics within 100 days. I mean, to put it in context, that's about a third of the time that it took us to get a COVID into people's arms, and that was an outstanding record. Usually it takes about 5 to 10 years for a new vaccine to come through. So it is a really challenging ambition, and it won't work for all viruses and bacteria. Some are different shapes, some are more difficult to incorporate quickly. But I do think it is possible for many, and the more we think about it in advance, the more likely we are to achieve it. And that's what the purpose of our new evaluation centre is.
Yes, looking through this article, what I realized they are slamming right wing. I don't know how they call it. Now, when you take a look at the article, the World Economic Forum is slated to hold a meeting called Preparations for Disease X on Wednesday, where a panel of international speakers, including from the World Health Organizations, pharmaceutical companies, and conglomerate would discuss which novel efforts are needed to prepare healthcare systems for the multiple challenges ahead. So they want to start preparing for what we will see in the days, years ahead.
We face the backlash of millions of people, particularly in the West, who feels that globalization is not working. We should not argue in the context of yesterday. We should really first analyze how the world has dramatically changed and is changing in an accelerating way. We should not forget the great benefits globalization has brought to mankind. As consumers, we have benefited from lower prices enabled by global supply chains. And I could go on and on. That globalization has created a new economic equation. Skills, labor is less in demand. Those who have capital have benefited more from globalization. And for this reason, what we have seen in the elections, this anger of people against globalization and against the elite.
They usually say you need to save for rainy days. Maybe this is what they are trying to do here. But I'm more concerned why they are calling out right wings in this article. People have different opinions pertaining to this. Now, the way they see, like when people criticize something on social media, especially Big Pharma and all the rest, World Economic Forum, you are a right wing. That should not be the case. This is X is a hypothetical unknown threat. It is a name used among scientists to encourage the development of countermeasures, including vaccines and tests to deploy in the case of a future outbreak. The World Economic convened a group of over 300 scientists in November 2022 to study the unknown pathogen and that could cause a serious international epidemic, positioning a mortality rate 20 times than COVID 19. News of the World Economic Forum meeting, however, spiraled into a heated debate on social media Thursday, with right-wing users warning preparations for the unknown disease could parallel the types of shutdown measures put in place during the COVID pandemic, a major criticism in right-wing circles, with some users drawing similarity to a baseless theory that COVID was planned. So they are trying to cancel this baseless conspiracy theory that they are trying to bring up. That is according to the article. Monica, a former Fox News contributor and assistant secretary for public affairs to the Treasury Department during the Trump administration, argued in a tweet that a new contagion allowed world leaders to implement lockdown, restrict free speech, and destroy more freedom, appearing to reiterate a baseless theory that Microsoft founder Bill Sims scheme control recipient of the COVAX